Hello, everyone, and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. So, I'm back for another Have Your Say video where you get to vote on whether you agree with the outcome of this week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race.
When will this end?
And this video is for All Stars 10 Episode 3. So, today we're going to be recapping the episode, going through the results of the Have Your Say poll, and I'll be talking about a little bit of light drama to do with Olivia Lux calling out Naomi Smalls, and Bob the drag queen gets accused of being xenophobic. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. Also, before we start, I was wondering if you could help me with something. I got this comment on my Have Your Say poll and I don't quite understand it. So someone said, I love how unhinged your videos have become. And they said the eye patch was incredible. Now, I'm not sure what eye patch they're referring to. Like, is that a gay reference that maybe I wouldn't get? I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you understand that, because I personally don't. Okay, so let's start by recapping the episode, and I'm going to try and go through this a bit quicker than usual because I want to try and make these videos a little bit snappier.
Oh, thank you, Jesus, Holy Son of God.
Okay, so the queens come into the workroom and there's a little bit of drama, as we love, to do with the giving out of the MVQ points. And apparently there was a bit more of a fallout between the queens than what was shown on camera. And if you'd like to know what that is, make sure you check out my latest Roscoe's recap, which I'll link to in the description. We then find out that the main challenge for this week is the makeover challenge, and they have to give makeovers to basketball players. Now, usually makeovers can be a bit hit and miss, in my opinion. I know Shock Horror Matt doesn't like something, but I just find sometimes they can be really interesting, but sometimes they can be a bit boring. And I also think it's usually something they have at the end of the season. Quite often it's around the time when maybe they want, you know, to be a bit strategic about which queen gets a good critique and which queen gets a bad critique, which we'll get onto a little bit later. But given that this is an all-stars that's only in certain brackets, does that mean they're not going to do makeovers on the next bracket, or are they going to do makeovers on every single bracket? That's something I think I'm interested to find out how the challenges are going to be spread out between the different brackets. But anyway, they do a little mini challenge, which is really fun. I really love seeing RuPaul being a little bit unhinged and, you know, throwing the ball and being really silly with the queens. I feel like I really like it when you can tell RuPaul's actually having fun. And they assign the partners, and it seems pretty fair, I think. We also find out that they not only have to do a makeover, but they also have to write, record, and perform their own verse to the song Shoot Your Shot, which is literally insane that they have to do all of what they would normally do in a makeover challenge, plus like 3 extra things. So this was definitely a really intense challenge. Okay, so let's actually move on to the makeovers themselves, and we'll go in order in which they appeared. So first up was Deja Skye. I'll be honest, I'm sorry, I didn't really like this very much. Sorry, Deja. I love Deja very much, but I didn't really like these outfits. I think Deja kind of alluded to the fact that she knew they weren't necessarily the best at Roscoe's this week. Another plug for my Roscoe's video, which I'll link to in the description.
Oh, here we go.
But Deja said that she had something else planned, but it didn't fit her makeover partner, so she had to go with this instead. I think they were okay. They just didn't really have any cohesion between them. I know family resemblance is kind of a tricky topic of what constitutes that, but yeah, I just don't really think they looked particularly similar, and I don't think the outfits had any kind of matching. So unfortunately, I would have to give this a nay. Although I will say Deja can beat a mug. Like, that makeup is stunning. So the makeup would be a yay, but the outfits, unfortunately, are a nay. And in terms of the Have Your Say poll, you voted 44.5% for nay, 40.9% for just okay, and then yay only got 14.6%. Next up, we had Irene the Alien. I really loved this makeover. I thought the outfits, as the judges kind of said, they weren't exactly the same, but they were enough with the color schemes that you could tell there was family resemblance. Obviously, they were very alien themed, which is very on brand for Irene, but I also just think they were impeccably done. The makeup was great. The styling was great. I thought they interacted really well. This was definitely a yay for me. And it seemed like you agreed because 95.6% of you voted yay, only 3.4% for just okay, and then there was a tiny sliver for nay, and I can't even see it because it doesn't show me what percentage it is because it's so small. Next up, we had Bosco. I enjoyed these outfits and I do think they looked nice. I think obviously it kind of comes down to what you class as family resemblance. I think they did look like family enough, even though they weren't the same colors and things. The styling was pretty similar. The accoutrements on the outfits were enough. And, obviously I am a fashion expert. So I would say there was enough to give it a family resemblance. Maybe not as much as some of the others, but still lovely looks. Loved the hair. The hair obviously wasn't the same, but it was that kind of same style. But I think overall it was a very good makeover in terms of the actual face. Like, she did look like Bosco. So I would give this a yay. And you voted 75.6% for yay and then 22.4% for just okay. Then we had Phoenix. Now, Phoenix was obviously, as she explained, doing a reference back to her original season when she and India Farah came into the workroom and they had the same wig and the same hair on. And then India said, "Oh, prison honey."
Girl, prison honey.
I thought that was actually really smart because that's one of Phoenix's most defining moments from Drag Race. I will say, I do wish the wigs were a little bit more similar to how they were in the original season, because I think these wigs just didn't quite give the vibe. But overall, I definitely got what they were going for. The outfits were simple, but then the outfits they were emulating were also simple, so I think it did work. They weren't the most sort of stunning outfits, but I really liked that it was a funny reference. I'm not sure the judges quite understood the reference, in my opinion. I did. But yeah, I think overall, I probably would give this a just okay, maybe towards a yay, because I liked the concept, but I think it was quite simple. But I will say they definitely did look like sisters. Their makeup was definitely on point. Maybe the most out of everyone. They did look very related. And in terms of the Have Your Say poll, you also seemed a bit split on this because you voted 47.7% for just okay, so almost half, 32.9% for yay, and then 19.4% for nay. After that, we had Olivia Lux. Hello, this is Matt in the editing room. For some reason, my camera cut out for a few seconds, so I won't be on screen momentarily. So instead, please enjoy this creepy talking cat. I did like the outfits, and I think it was a very safe option to go with that style of dress. I don't know actually what it's called. My fashion course did not cover this. Is it A-line? No. I don't know what it is, but kind of a flare skirt. Obviously, it's a good option for makeovers because then you don't necessarily know who's going to fit particular outfits and who's not going to. So I do think that it's a very safe option to go down. The outfits themselves were really pretty, though. I liked the styling of it. They definitely did look like sisters, so I will definitely give that. It very much met the theme of that. And I really liked the music element with the connected headphone piece and everything. So I definitely would give it a yay, maybe towards just okay compared to some of the others, but definitely still a yay. And it seemed like maybe you agreed with me, shock horror, because you said 62.3% for yay, 30.7% for just okay, so a decent chunk, and then 6.9% for nay. And then finally we had Aja. Now, I know Michelle made that comment about this is looking a bit costumey, which is something that's happened a lot on Drag Race. Yeah, I guess they are costumey in a way, but I don't think that's a bad thing. As Aja kind of said, it's costume drag is a costume. But I will say they did look like sisters, regardless whether it's costumey. You can tell they're from the same family. I thought the wings were cute. I think it definitely fits the theme. The fact they were in different kind of slightly pastel-y colors, but you could tell they were definitely from the same family, the same style. They did look like sisters. So I would definitely give this a yay, but I don't think it was quite as much of a yay as some of the others. And it seemed like maybe you were a bit more split on it because you voted 50.1% for just okay, so over half, then 34.9% for yay, and then 15% for nay. I then asked you who got the slay, as in the best makeover, and you voted 71.7% for Irene, 13.6% for Bosco, and 10.6% for Olivia. I definitely would agree. I agree with those three broadly and probably in order in which you voted for. I would definitely give the slay to Irene though. Loved the outfits, loved the way it was something really different, but it was still very polished, excellently executed. The makeup was great. The way they interacted was great. So yeah, Irene definitely slayed it for me. Okay, so we find out that the top two are Irene and Bosco. And I asked you in the Have Your Say poll, do you agree with the top two? And you said 63.4% for yes and 36.6% for no. And then of that roughly third of you that said no, I said who should have been in the top instead. And you said 65.6% for Olivia Lux, which I don't think is that surprising, 17.5% for Phoenix, 13.4% for Aja, and 3.4% for Deja. So Irene and Bosco then lip sync to the song Pocketbook by Jennifer Hudson featuring Ludacris. And we find out that Irene wins the lip sync and therefore wins the episode. And I asked you in the Have Your Say poll, who do you think won the lip sync? And you voted 90.3% for Irene and only 9.7% for Bosco. So a pretty definitive result for Irene. So then the four kind of bottom queens then had to give out their MVQ points. And we find out there's a bit of a twist, as usual, on Drag Race, which is that at the end of all the brackets, the regular judges, which apparently is just going to be Ross, Michelle, and Carson, they get to pick one queen each from any of the brackets. And then one of those three will be randomly selected. And then that person gets to skip straight to the finale and come back into the competition. So even though these four queens know they're not making it through to the semifinals from this bracket, there's still a chance that one of them will go forward to the end. And I asked you in the Have Your Say poll, who would you give your MVQ point to? The results were 43.8% for Aja, 20.3% for Phoenix, 9.4% for Irene, Deja and Olivia tied with 9.3%, and then Bosco got 7.8%. And then at the end, we find out that once they've tallied up all the points, the top three who'll be moving forward are Irene, Bosco, and Aja. I then asked you in the Have Your Say poll, is this the top three you expected? And you said 86.1% for yes and 13.9% for no. And then finally, for question 7, I asked who did you want to be in the top 3, and I said you have to select 3 queens only. And I know this is a bar chart, so don't freak out. You can't really do this on a pie chart.
Literally, no one cares.
But I thought this was an easy way to look at it because we can see the top 3 queens who got the most votes, which are obviously Irene, Bosco, and Aja. So it was very obvious, I think, that those were going to be the top 3, and they seem to be the top 3 that you also wanted as well. Okay, so now let's move on to the comments for this week.
How long is this gonna take?
So starting us off strong, we have a Patreon comment from my Patreon Riot who said, if I were Phoenix, I would have given the point to a top queen just to be petty. Now, I don't know whether the queens were told you can't vote for Irene and Bosco because they're already in the top, because they already had the most points. Maybe they weren't, I don't know, but it did seem a little bit like I felt bad for Phoenix. So maybe if I was Phoenix and I was feeling a little bit petty, I know, go figure, me being petty, right?
Tell me something I don't know.
I would have maybe also done the same thing and given my point to someone who definitely was already going through, just because it would have made good television. And then moving on to the Have Your Say polls, this is something slightly related. And some of you said things like, felt so bad for Phoenix only ending up with 1 point. Really wanted to see Phoenix get some flowers. I thought the prison honey thing was hilarious. Felt like the judges missed the joke. I agree. I really love Phoenix. I do feel a bit bad for her that she only got 1 point. And I do think she should have got more props for her makeover and the concept, because I do think it was quite fun. There was also quite a few comments about the whole drag family resemblance and they don't look related and things like that. Obviously, that came up again this week with Michelle saying things like it's costumey. It does seem to be a little bit inconsistent, perhaps. Sometimes they like the outfits to literally be the exact same. Sometimes different colors are not enough for family resemblance. Other times they can be completely different and it's still family resemblance. I think it comes down to they have to have some kind of connection, whether that's color or shape or something that ties it in. But I do think they probably need to have something enough that you can tell they're definitely related, because we all know by now that's kind of what they're looking for. I know siblings don't always have to match, but we know by now that that's kind of what they're looking for. So you kind of have to go with what you think they're going to judge it by. There was also quite a few comments talking about the format of this All-Star season, saying the new format is interesting, but 3 episodes isn't enough time to establish the drama, alliances, etc. And someone else said, I'm not fully on board with this format yet. Only time will tell, but I miss the old format. I also don't understand why this bracket had to write a versus challenge. And I do agree. I wonder if they're going to do that for the other brackets, because it's quite a common challenge. And if they don't do it, I wonder what they're going to do instead. So yeah, it's kind of hard when you only have 3 episodes. Where do you place the acting challenges, the versus challenge, the improv, or the snatch game? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. But so far, yeah, 3 episodes is maybe not quite enough. I think they maybe need to do some tweaks to really iron that out. Okay, so now moving on to a little bit of light drama that happened with Olivia Lux calling out Naomi Smalls. So, as some of you may know, Bob the Drag Queen and Monet Exchange host a podcast called Sibling Rivalry, where, among other things, they review Drag Race episodes. This season, Monet will not be co-hosting Sibling Rivalry, and Naomi Smalls is going to be co-hosting in her place. And in fact, there was actually a little bit of jokey drama about this announcement, with Bob pretending that Paramount scared Monet and said that she couldn't do it because she's hosting the pit stop.
Let's just say Paramount put the fear of God in her, and you'll see her on the pit stop, but you'll never see that sniveling little corporate shill here on Sibling Watchery ever again.
However, this was clearly a joke, and Monet then clapped back at Bob with this response.
Bob is a liar. No, Paramount did not send me no cease and desist. No, there's no rule that I cannot do All-Star Season 10. I am personally taking All-Stars 10 off Watchery this season for some personal stuff going on in my life. And Bob knows what this personal stuff is, and he's gaslighting y'all.
But anyway, going back to the topic at hand, so Naomi is currently hosting the podcast with Bob. And in the video for episode 1, Naomi and Bob were talking about some of the queens who have lost weight, and Naomi made this comment.
Now that she's dropped
Quite a bit.
right? Has she? I don't know if she's made it part of her personality.
Shots fired. Because Olivia was like a little thick.
Yeah, I don't think she's talking.
Deja was fat. Olivia was like a little thick. You know what I mean? A little like.
Oh, please cut this out. I mean, they're all still plus size.
We are not cutting that out.
This clip got shared on social media, and Olivia seemingly responded to it because she was one of the queens mentioned in the video. Olivia then said on Twitter, also, not Naomi calling me currently plus sized. Girl, everyone is plus size compared to you. You are literally minus size. Someone then replied to Olivia saying, the only people that think you are plus size must have a very distorted view of what the human body looks like. And Olivia then said, tune in to Sibling Watchery for distortion then, diva. Some people in the comments also called out Naomi, saying she shouldn't be commenting on other queens' bodies in the first place. But some people defended Naomi, saying this was just shade and wasn't meant seriously. But as of yet, it doesn't look like Olivia, Bob, or Naomi have said any more about it. Also, while we're talking about Olivia, she did also share some background information about last week's improv challenge. After the episode came out, Olivia tweeted saying, I posted about this when it happened, but I need to share, episode 2 was a murder mystery improv, and a few weeks prior, my grandfather was murdered. No one really knew except Aja. I'm okay now, my family is okay now, I'm very thankful for therapy. However, at the time, I was working through a lot of intense emotions. To be honest, I was dreading watching any of this back. It was really hard to receive the critique, grief has many stages you could have explored on the main stage because I was actively grieving. I hope this shines some light on my perspective in terms of my headspace. At this time, I'm not really able to share more. And I just thought this was interesting information and gives some context that you may not have known about. Also, going back to Sibling Rivalry, there was another bit of drama that happened. This time it was to do with the episode 2 video, and it was to do with some comments that Bob the Drag Queen made. So during the video, they started talking about All-Stars and things like Versus the World and Global All-Stars, and Bob said she'd never do one of those franchises.
Also, I think they asked her for like Verse the World and not even like a...
I would never.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something right now. Any queens, if you're being offered Versus the World, say no. We have to stop them from even offering it as an option. If I was Alyssa Summers, you could not convince me to do a Versus the World.
Yeah. What about Global?
No, even worse.
This clip then went viral on social media, and a lot of people criticized Bob, saying that other franchises don't have the same opportunities as the US franchise, and some people even accused Bob of being xenophobic, which Bob responded to. So it started with a Twitter user posted the clip of Bob and said, I don't understand why being so harsh on a platform showcasing amazing non-US and especially drag artists that aren't from non-English speaking countries. Have you seen Marina Summers, Nelenia, etc.? And if those stop existing, including global, where are we gonna see it? Bob then reposted this and said, where are we gonna see it? Baby, go to a drag bar. Another Twitter user then said, genuine question, how would you see the drag cultures of so many countries outside the US by going to a drag bar in the US? Bob then replied saying, wait until you find out about YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Someone else then commented saying that this was a weird hill for Bob to die on, and Bob said, girl, I don't like the effing show, you'll have to get over. A different Twitter user then replied to Bob's last tweet and said, then say it like that, just own an opinion without being xenophobic, it's not that hard. Bob then responded to this person and said, xenophobic, sometimes the Drag Race fandom is the very definition of go touch grass. Y'all have truly lost the plot. All this because I said I wouldn't compete on Versus the World or Global All-Stars. I've also stated that I wouldn't even compete on an all-winners season. When you boil xenophobia down to Bob said she wouldn't compete on Versus the world begins to literally mean nothing. Someone accused Bob of backtracking on what she said, and Bob then replied saying, the Alyssa part was funny and I stand by that. I said no queen should go on. I beg of you to find the clip where I specifically said that no US queen should do it. I'll wait. No, please take your time. I'll be waiting here. Then afterwards she said, still waiting over here, been 30 minutes already. Some people then started accusing Bob of having too much time on her hands to reply. However, Bob addressed this and said, okay, it's been about 6 hours and you haven't found the clip of me saying that no US queen should compete. I'm just going to assume it doesn't exist. Meanwhile, you were too busy at work but had time to tweet and retweet 38 times. Yes, I counted because I do have the time. Just admit it. I made your day. This was the highlight of your day. You texted all of your friends and said, I'm in a Twitter fight with Bob the drag queen, and they gagged. They rushed over to check and see. Some of them even had to re-download Twitter after swearing it off just to see the main event of your week. I'm going to go ahead and leave this conversation alone, but to be honest, happy that you're fighting for your life in the comments section, frankly, is what you deserve. Be well or don't, I really don't care. And as you can imagine, this whole discourse prompted a lot of discussion around the topic of All-Stars for international franchises, and whether it's fair or not that US queens tend to get more opportunities than international queens. A few Drag Race queens also weighed in on this conversation too. For example, All-Stars 9 winner Angeria reposted the original post criticizing what Bob had said, and Angeria said, I actually told my best friend that if I didn't win All-Stars 9 and was asked to do UK versus the world or global, my answer would be yes. I wanted a new experience. Competing with non-American queens sounds so fun to me. Nilenia from Drag Race Italia and Global All-Stars also reposted this post about Bob and said, TV shows like Global All-Stars or Versus the World not only give the opportunity to drag queens who otherwise could not have the same visibility on a global level, but show the public how artists with different backgrounds and styles can compete together, proving to have the same talent. And sometimes even more than American artists, try to do what you do in a language that you do not master perfectly. Why denigrate something that tries to praise the art of drag instead of supporting it? Why take away value from something so humanly and artistically unifying? Every drag is valid, some ideals instead are not. And although the conversation did continue after this, there don't seem to have been any other major developments as of yet. But let me know in the comments what you think about this topic and whether you enjoy franchises such as Versus the World or Global All-Stars, and do you think that US queens get more opportunities than international queens? But please make sure you keep the comments constructive, and as usual, please do not be hateful. So there you go, there was the Have Your Say video for RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 10 Episode 3.
Don't worry, it's almost over.
Let me know in the comments what you thought about this bracket, and was it what you expected to be, and how excited are you for the next 2 brackets? If you'd like to get early access to my videos and have your comments featured in my Have Your Say videos, as well as a raft of other benefits, please check out my Patreon. It's a cheap and quick way to support the channel, and it's really appreciated. I'll put a link for that in the description. Also, thank you so much to all of my amazing Patreons. I love speaking to you every week in the exclusive Patreon chat or in the comments. I love your support so much. I really do value everything you do for me, and I really want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Please make sure you like and comment on these videos because it really does help to boost it in the algorithm and share it to more people. And please make sure you smash that subscribe button. I'd love to get to 150k by the end of the year, and I can only do that with your help. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll join me again for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. Thank you so much. Bye!